Hi everyone, it's Mary Blocker with Mary's Stampin' Cafe. Welcome to the Soft Pastels tutorial for the specialty class that I held in the month of February. It was delayed for quite a while, but finally came through. If you've participated, you received your package or are receiving your package in the mail. It includes the Soft Pastels set, as well as supplies for 4 beautiful cards doing some different soft pastel techniques. Now, you don't have to have these stamp sets or different things that I have. It's just about the techniques. And as long as you have outline stamps and stamps that have a lot of the image as just flat, you can get some great techniques. Now, you will want some tools. You will want some things like Q-tips or makeup applicators. You will want some sort of water painter. I've got Stampin' Up's old style of their water painters. A spritzer of some sort that you can use to spritz water onto a surface. And you will want some sponge daubers. Those are the kinds of tools that I'll be using. I also will be doing some embossing. On this particular one here, this is clear and embossed in white, excuse me, and so I will be doing some watercolor painting by doing the white embossing. If you don't have white embossing, you can try out some different techniques with the watercolor, and I'll show you that when I do this card here. All right, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm not going to complete each card for you. I'm simply going to go ahead and do the technique for you and then talk about the rest of the way putting the card together so the video is not super long. Now, this is the first card that I'm going to be creating today, or showing you the technique for that. Oh, and by the way, give me a like, a thumbs up. I would love to get that going, as well as subscribe to my channel. Now, this card is beautiful. I'm using some retired DSP for this card. It's a beautiful black and white floral. And in your packet for your card, you've got things that are already die cut out for you. A starburst circle, Highland Heather circle, and another smaller circle for the sentiment. I'm using several different stamp sets for this, and a lot of it is for the sentiments. And so I know that you'll have all those things as well. This is Granny Apple Green and some basic black layers, and then I also have this beautiful piece of vellum that was die cut using a border die from the beautiful, oh, I forget what it's called, but it has the bird and all of the different, the nest and different things there, circle, and so that's that piece, okay? Now, for this, I'm going to be using some Q-tips, and I'm going to bring in a clear block. You're going to want to have a clear block as well, because I can take the Q-tip and simply pull the color with the Q-tip, and you can see I've got a little bit of color there, right? And as I start coloring, it's hardly even doing anything. So one of the things that's not going to hurt your pastels at all is to go ahead and take the pastel, put it on the block, and then take your scissor edge and go ahead and scrape, sorry about that, onto that clear block. Now when I go back in with my Q-tip, I'm getting a much more concentrated, and I'm going to pull you in here. I'm getting much more concentrated pastel on the Q-tip, and you can see that already, how it's really going right in there. So I can continue to do this. I can go back over it more and more to get some lighter and some darker. If I want just a little bit, I don't have to press down my Q-tip as hard. So there you can see I've got some darker and then lighter. And I'm going to continue to do that. I might have to scrape some more of the purple onto the clear block. And also notice in here I have some leaves, and then there's some other little flowers I'm not sure what this little flower is right here, but it has some other tiny little flowers. So I'm using the Granny Apple Green, which matches my paper, right? The Granny Apple Green. I was using the Gorgeous Grape, and then I was using this dark, a little bit darker yellow. So the lightest yellow is Daffodil Delight, and then this little bit darker one, I'm not sure if it's Bumblebee or if it's Mango Melody. I'd have to look it up. I don't think it's Mango Melody. So what I'm going to do, just to show you, is I'll go ahead and scrape a little bit, you can hear me scraping, onto the block, and then I'll pick up a clean Q-tip and just pick up that green, and then I'll come in onto the beautiful green leaves, and they're so bright and vibrant, very, very pretty. And what's great, the leaves just need just a quick little. So you're gonna think this is gonna take me forever to color this. Not at all. Look at just in that and how much I have done of that. Now I know the color doesn't come through real great, but you can start to see that. And then I would do the same with my yellow, and I'm just using the same block. When you're done with that, you can simply just wipe off your block with a cloth, and your block is ready to go. All right, so once I have colored that completely, I'm going to come in and think about a sentiment for my card. I chose hello, and you can see right there behind, I have a little bit of a stamp there. So I use the Garden Birdhouse stamp set, this one here, the Garden Birdhouse for the hello. And then on the inside, I stamped the little flowers right here on the inside. It's an outline stamp. And then I stamped So Glad You're Here, and then I have my layers inside. And then I just again took my Q-tip and then went in there with some of the chalk or the soft pastel. All right, so then it's just about gluing your layers together. I do have that beautiful vellum piece behind. It's always good when you have a very big pattern on a card to have something that goes across to kind of break that up for your eye. I raised up my layers with dimensionals, and then you have some embellishments included in your kit. You can go ahead and do that. Now, here's a note. If you want to put something like this behind the hello, you would want to ink that up with the Granny Apple Green or whatever green maybe you have. Then you're going to stamp off before stamping it on the white circle. So it's just a faded little image on the back. So that is all. One thing you might want to do, and I haven't had a problem with this, it is suggested to do something that's going to adhere that soft pastel to that paper so it won't rub off. Now you can have just a cheap hairspray, and from a distance you can spritz and spray onto that surface before you put it all together on your card. I haven't seemed to need that for this. I think it's just fine. So that is your first project. Nice, beautiful. This would be a wonderful wedding card or something like that too. Just great. All right, so that was easy peasy first project. I think designer series paper is the best for that. You can also do this technique simply by stamping an image and then using your pastels to color in that image as well. So that's just your basic coloring. All right, so that was great. Now I'm gonna back up a little bit here because I'm excited about this next one. Now, you will want to have your Stamparatus, and I am using the butterfly, beautiful butterfly brilliant stamp set. The butterfly brilliant stamp set is a full one large stamp, and you can see I have all sorts of colors on here, can't you? And that's not an issue, it's not a worry. I could really wipe and it'd be fine. I have two of these stamp sets, and this is because I've cut them apart, okay? All right, so this particular technique is for our beautiful butterfly card, and let me show it to you again. This is the beautiful Butterfly Brilliance card, and you can see just the gorgeous, soft, multicolored butterflies in the background. And so that is what I'm going to show you today. Now, why do I have my Stamparatus? Well, it's kind of difficult. You could do this with a block. I'm not saying you can't. If you just have the large block, it will work. What you would do is you will do this technique like I am, and then you would take your paper and put your paper to the block. But I'm using the Stamparatus, so this surface will work out just fine for me. I think I need to come up just a little bit more. All right, so the first thing I'm going to do is grab my spritzer. I need to spritz the surface of this large butterfly. And I'm going to get it wet with several spritz. Then I'm going to come in with my soft pastels, and let's talk about this. I'm going to come in with this beautiful Night of Navy. I'm not sure if it's Night of Navy or Pacific Point. I'd have to look at you have to look at the catalog to see. Then I'm going to use the Coastal Cabana. And the Coastal Cabana is the base of this card. So I want to make sure kind of a lot of that comes in. There we are. And then again, I'm going to bring in that darker yellow. And notice I've broken my pastels. I've done that purposely because I find it easier to work with for some of the techniques. And it doesn't hurt anything. All right, now that you have that all beautiful with your pastels, we can't really do anything at the moment until we spritz again. So this technique, you spritz before and then you spritz after. Now say you don't have this butterfly, large butterfly. Think of all the other background stamps or large images that you have, or you can simply have smaller stamps and do the same thing. And that's what I'm going to show you with the butterfly that's already cut out. Now, what I'm going to do is bring in my basic white. I'm just going to lay it down. Oh, the other thing I want to tell you is this is the base of the Stamparatus. It comes with a foam insert that really is meant for photopolymer stamps. I want to keep that in for this. I usually would not, but I want to because it needs that extra push to push down. Now I've been talking, so I'm going to spritz just again. You'll play with this to determine how much water is too much water. And now I'm just going to come over to see where my butterflies are going to be. And I want to make sure they're on there well. And now I'm just going to press down and I'm going to rub, rub, rub. Rub, rub, push, 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 rub, rub, rub. Let it soak in. The thick basic white would be great for this. And notice it's just, I really need that pressure, so I left that foam mat inside. Now I'm going to reveal what beautiful butterflies we have. Look at that. Now, they are quite wet, and if you feel like, oh, it's too wet, you can go ahead and blot it. I'm just going to let this sit and dry, or I'm going to bring in my heat tool to go ahead and do that. The one thing I want to let you know is once you do this technique, there is still a bunch of pastel on here. So simply wet it again. You don't have to add more. And then let's take a look. I'll just grab another piece, lay it down, bring the butterfly over, bring it over even a little more, and then press it down again. And you will get another sheet with these beautiful butterflies. You probably could do this 3, maybe even 4 times. Even try it with black cardstock. Do up something with black cardstock and it will be phenomenal. It'll be like a secret picture that will open up. So I'm just going to take my heat tool just to speed this up, and I can go ahead and dry my butterflies, and it dries pretty quickly. You'll see as it dries, the cardstock will want to start curling up. Having a tissue is great to go ahead and blot it too. But just look at how pretty. It's pretty and soft. It is just so gorgeous. Now, let me tell you what I mean about being able to use. Now, I'm just going to go ahead. To clean this, you'll really want to spritz it good with water, blot it with some paper towel, and then use your chamois all over it. The pastels really like to stick on here, so as many you can do them to get that off. So this is the inside of the card, and remember I said I cut one of my butterflies, all of my butterflies from the second stamp set I had. I'm going to do the same thing here. So this is what I mean about you don't need a large stamp to do this. You can use any of your stamps. Remember I started by misting it with my spritzer. Then I'm going to come in with the Coastal Cabana and a little bit of that Brilliant Blue, and then a bit of that yellow. Now, if you're like, I want to keep my pastels pristine, I don't want any of the colors touching any of the other colors, you can work on that, but when you're doing this particular technique, they are going to touch and they are going to mingle. All right, now remember when I did the first one, I spritzed before the pastels, and now I'm going to spritz again after. You do need to get enough water for the pastel to transfer, and then you just stamp like you regularly stamp. And then I'm going to pull it off, and oh, this is a beautiful butterfly. Look at that butterfly. Isn't it gorgeous? So just think about opening up that card and you're going to see that beautiful one. So my sample has heartfelt love and caring thoughts are with you. This could be a birthday card. This could be all sorts of greatness. That's just going to go right on the inside of the card. You can have another sentiment on the inside as well. But look at how beautiful that butterfly is. Wonderful technique. And I love it. I love using the spritzer. It's just fantastic. Now to finish the card, one of the things I want to show you with your ribbon piece is I like to save my ribbon. I don't like to use tons and tons of it. So what I'll do is I will bring my snail in, or not my stamp, I'll just call it snail. I know it's not. And I just tack it underside of the strip, and tack it there on the underside of the strip, and then I'll cut it. And now I have just a strip that's going across the front and just tacked a little bit on the back. Then you can take another piece and weave it under, tie a knot, and then your bow. If you don't want the bow, you can simply do your knot. Oh, my little fat fingers here aren't working. Have you subscribed yet? I hope so. Great fun things planned. Oh, and there you have it. So it's just an additional way to save. You don't have all that ribbon going across. And sometimes when you have ribbon going all the way across, to adhere it down to the card is a little difficult. So that's one way I solve that problem. So then that's just going to go right across here. And I'll go ahead and do that since I have it there. Why not? I think it's still a little wet. So that's going to go there. And I can continue to make my bow or just make it a smaller knot. Now, what I want to let you know is I raised up those there, and in your kit, you have the beautiful, where do I have them sitting? Here they are. You have the brushed brass butterflies. So on your card, you can go ahead and add some beautiful brass butterflies. I love these. I'll put one there. I'll come up I'm going to put another one kind of just down in here, and then one up over here, right there. So you have more than 3, so enjoy putting those wherever you would like those to add that touch to your project. I just love that technique. Try it with all sorts of different stamps that you might have. Just see how that works out for you. All right, now a little cleanup is needed for this project, right? You can also see other demonstrators using this technique with some other sets. So that's another thing for you to go ahead and try if you'd like. All right, that's project 2. Now let's go ahead and take a look at our 3rd project today. So our 3rd project is using a stamp set that has quite a bit of surface that would be really great to do a resist technique with. So I'm using the Amazing Silhouette stamp set, and we're going to use the butterflies, or the butterfly, and the technique is actually very, very simple. So let me tell you about this card. This is a white on white on white card. I was just very inspired by that. So I cut a rectangle using the Nature Thoughts dies that has this beautiful little stitched rectangle. And when I did that, I got this frame. So then I took that excess frame and I ran it through the ornate floral embossing folder. And then I got this beautiful window. Okay? So what you can do is you can put this window down right on there like so, because I'm doing kind of a reversed frame. This piece here is raised up and the frame is down solid. Now you can also see there's a little bit of coloring on that ornate florals. You can leave that completely white, or you can use the very first technique where we took, let me just shave off a little, I'm going to do the Calypso Coral. Whoop, wow. Got a whole bunch on my mat now. So you can take and color the flowers however you might like. Now you may feel that, boy, that's going to take a lot of time, and I agree, that would, but that's where the daubers come in handy. So for this project, you're going to be using some sort of sponge daubers, and with these sponge daubers, I can go on and I can kind of swirl. And I'll show you. So when I was using the Q-tip, you can see I've got kind of isolated spots. When I use the dauber, don't know if you can kind of see it, it just glides over and does a soft coloring. And nothing is really sticking out like these little guys over here. So a couple different ways that you can do your frame. I'm going to kind of just carry on because I'm, of course, going to use this card. So now I'll need to, and I'm just scraping on the chalk, as you can see. I'm not putting it on the clear block because, one, I don't want it super, super dark. There we go. So I've got a soft Calypso Coral floral there. All right, let's get into our rectangle. Now, what I want you to know, you will be wanting to have Versamark. Versamark is going to be that fluid that is sticky that's going to allow us to do some emboss resist technique. Emboss resist is where the ink will only go on what part of the stamp it is. So let me get my butterfly and I'll show you what I mean. All right. Okay, so here's the butterfly. This recessed part will not be getting any ink. And so the only place that the chalk is going to adhere to is this outside part. So on this, I'm going to ink up, and what's going to happen is you're not going to be able to see it at all. So I'm going to put one there. I'm going to come and put one right down here in the center. And then I'm going to come up here and put another one right here. And so I don't know if you can see at all, probably not, but when I put it to the light, I can kind of see where things are. So I'm going to get my dauber. I'm not going to put any more ink on it. I'm simply going to roll it around till I find that butterfly. Let me bring you in here closer. There we go. And then I'm going to grab another dauber that has the Granny Apple Green. And you can see the butterflies are coming out and the colors behind maybe I want to scrape. You can scrape if you want onto a clear block. And what I'm doing is I'm just kind of digging in there around where I know that Versamark is, because now that the butterfly's out, I can see it. Okay? And where's my yellow? And again, I'm going with the darker yellow. I know it's very soft and you probably can't see it real well, but I'll show you. The more I get in the color in there and I rub, rub, rub. And you can see those butterflies are starting to come out. I do think going ahead and putting some onto your onto your clear block is probably a better idea, so we can really darken up around the butterfly and see it really well. See that? And so now you can see it more. So the more you work with it, the better. Now, if you find that you're getting some of that color inside here, you can use a good eraser, and that will take out and make that more white again. So you can see if I put this here, it's still very, very soft. I would want to do a lot more with that. So the more you do, the better. So what I did from there is I went ahead and I glued down the frame to the white, and then I used dimensionals on the back of this. So you use dimensionals, and that will raise it up here. And then you have a sentiment. I gave you a yellow strip. And basically what I did is I used the thank you, and the thank you came from, the thank you in this case, came from the beautiful Sweet Strawberry stamp set. So I did thank you, and then on the inside, I said, so sweet of you, and then I did the same technique again. I stamped it in Versamark, and then I used my daubers, and I colored around, okay? It's fun, a fun technique. So try that with all sorts. Try it on a little bit different colored cardstock. You also then were given some gems. Go ahead and use those gems. I went ahead and did a little decorative edge on mine, and then I just glued it. The only thing raised up is the panel. There you are. That's that third technique. It's a great one. I love it. All right, so I'm going to bring you back out again. And all of these things that we're doing, your chalks have hardly been dented. I mean, look at my chalks. I have done so much with them, and they're just doing great. Now, for this next technique, we're going to be using the Versamark again, not using the daubers. But we are going to be embossing, heat embossing. Again, if you do not have heat embossing powder and all of that, you can do this watercoloring as well as what I'm doing. It will still work out. So your base card that you have is So Saffron. And then you have all sorts of pieces. Now this strip has the beautiful black and white paper again, designer series paper. And this is the side that we'll be using. This is for our sentiment to die cut out. This is for the main image. And then it will layer just like so. Well, goodness, I need to show you the card, don't I? Here is the project for this one. Isn't it beautiful? It's just so sunny, and I love how it pops from that black cardstock. And thank you for everything inside. And so this particular technique, you will need your Versamark pad, you will need your white embossing powder, and you will need a blending pen. Now, Stampin' Up! Blending pens are fantastic. It is a fluid that pulls out colors. I don't think I want to use this. I think I want to use the Aqua Painter, not the blender pen. I'm going to set the blender pen aside. Let's use our water painters. I'm not sure why I have that there. All right, so this is what we're going to do first. What we're going to do is some watercolor painting. I am going to do, I think, the yellow flowers. So again, I'm going to scrape some of my color onto the block, right? Now I'm going to use my water painter, squeeze water out, and now I'm going to pick up the chalk as if it were paint. And I'm going to come in here and paint my flowers. The less water, the color will be more vibrant. It's easier to move the color around when it's wetter because the chalks are kind of a dry, right? Dry medium. And so aren't those pretty? They're just coming right out. So nice. I can have some of the flowers be a little lighter, doing a little less on that. There we are. So now if you're really liking this, I do have 2 soft pastel kits available for these 4 beautiful projects. And again, if you don't have the stamp sets I'm using, you'll have other things that you can use. Now, aqua painters, you just kind of squeeze and wipe it off. I think I want to do some of the green here. So I'm going to grab my green and I am going to scrape off a bit here. Now, you see there's not much of anything. What am I going to do? Green, but I'm going to go ahead and get it wet, pick it up, and I'm just going to come in here where the things are, the black that represent leaves, right? Just adds that another color in here. There, isn't that pretty? Now I noticed, let me get this ink off, this chalk off. I noticed I missed a flower over here. A little bit of flower right there. Very nice. Okay, so let me show you up close what you'll have. It's still very wet, but I've watercolored those beautiful images. Okay, now that's just going to set aside to dry, and when it does dry it might curl up a little bit, but then you can just get it smoothed back out. All right, now we are going to do a little bit more of that in just a minute. I'm going to go ahead and pull in the piece for the inside. Now if I'm doing watercoloring, I cannot stamp with that Memento ink. Memento ink cannot be used for watercoloring, so I'm going to bring in the Stays On. And the stamp set that I'm going to pull in for this is the Color and Contour stamp set. We're going to be using this flower here and this here. This works with any outline stamps that you have, okay? So I'm going to bring my flower out. And then I'm going to bring in this flower, because this is going to get stamped on the inside. So I'm using the StazOn pad. This is an alcohol solvent base ink pad, so it's not going to bleed when I watercolor. Isn't that beautiful? All right. So let's see what we've got. I'm going to stamp Thinking Thank You for Everything inside is my stamp for the inside. Now this is a quick drying solvent ink, and I can watercolor just like I did before. So I am going to use the yellow, scrape some off on this block, bring in the aqua painter, get it all good and wet, and then I can come in and paint the flowers, or the flower. One flower, one flower. You can see, and the more I go, I can darken it up just by adding a little bit more on there, kind of dabbing it, not pulling the, see, beautiful. Now we need a cute center of our heart, so I'll bring in the Calypso Coral. Just a tiny little bit there, I don't need much. Squeeze it out. And then just dab inside. And now I've got this beautiful flower. Remember, you need to use the StazOn ink or a permanent ink that's not going to bleed when you add the water for painting. All right, so that's going to set aside and dry as well, because now we're going to get into our heat embossing. We need to heat emboss so I can do that beautiful coloring and watercoloring on the black. So I'm inking up my floral image from the Color and Contour, and I'm going to stamp it right in the center. And you can hear that stickiness. Then I'm going to bring in, I have this little tray. If you have a paper plate at home or anything like that, or just another mat to catch the powder. Now I'm using white embossing powder. It's part of the Basics embossing powder with Stampin' Up, so you can get the white, black, and I believe clear. And so that's white is sticking to that Versamark pad. And then I just bring my heat tool. And Stampin' Up's heat tool is fantastic. And I'll go ahead and heat. Notice I'm not moving it back and forth. I don't want to be drying hair. I want the heat to be focused. And you can see that once the heat starts to heat up that embossing powder, the embossing powder melts and gets more white and raises up. So this technique I'm doing, it's just a watercoloring technique, just like we did for the designer series paper and just like for the flower on the inside. The only difference is I really want the flower to pop on this black. If I didn't, I couldn't stamp with StazOn and the black on here because then I wouldn't see the flower, right? So I wanted to have it on the black, and so I needed to emboss it. So again, scraping the chalk, bringing in that water painter again and squeezing the water to get the chalk wet. And then you just come inside here, and this is another technique, kind of a resist technique. The ink is only going to go into those void areas. What's been embossed with the white is raised up, and so one, it's going to help keep your ink inside there. your chalk inside there. And it won't go on that white embossing powder. It's pretty cool. It's very cool. But again, this is just the technique. Now you'll see, well, wait a minute, I see that it's on that white embossing powder, but that's okay. Once it's dry, I'll go ahead and use a tissue and just rub it off. So there is the beautiful little yellow flowers. You can see that starting there. Sorry, it's kind of, it's getting blurry. Okay, and so you can let it dry and then you can add more on top to make it bolder and brighter. Again, to change color, you want to just squeeze until that brush comes out clear. So then I'm going to bring my green in, scrape off some of the green, squeeze that water out to get it wet. Now, there's just a little bit of the green here, but I still wanted to give it a stem of some green. So it's going to kind of come outside the flower, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to let it kind of drag outside the flower, or the stem, so you can see that green. There we go. That's very pretty. So once you've done that, you're going to let that dry. And then it's time to do our sentiment on the black here. It's going to do the same thing. We're going to emboss the sentiment. And where did my sentiment go to? We're using You're Absolutely Amazing from the Color and Contour. When I'm doing all of these projects here, it's easy to get them missed. All right, so I'm going to use the block I had the flower on. All right, and we'll bring the Versamark in again for the heat embossing. Ink it up really well with that Versamark. I'm going to stamp it right in the center. Then I'm going to pour my powder on again. I actually probably could just pick it up from here. There we are. If you get any excess of the powder onto the black cardstock, you can use a little brush, little paintbrush, and that will clear that up for you. So again, I'm just going to hold this over until the powder starts to melt and it raises up, and I'll slowly move along. The powder melts to a beautiful raised up writing. There we are. You're absolutely amazing. Now I'm going to be using the mini Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine, which is on a 20% sale right now. And then I'm going to use the scallop, or the art, it's the art gallery, I believe. Yeah, art gallery dies here to go ahead and die cut this out. Now in your kit, this has already been die cut, because remember, when you do a specialty class with me, all of the die cutting and everything is done for you. The only thing that's not is I cannot do any stamping for you. So you will need to provide your own stamps and your own ink pads for the classes. So there's that really cute You're Absolutely Amazing using that same technique. I'll go ahead and adhere my, will I? There it is. Go ahead and put this on here. It's still a little bit wet. And then you'll go ahead and just be assembling your cards. You can have bring the original in for you to see. And it's just, I raised up this You're Amazing, gets raised up with dimensionals. And then the inside, again, you've got that flower to stamp and your other You are absolutely amazing. Thank you for everything. This card does not have to be a thank you card. You can stamp any images that you would like to for yours. So I'm going to bring you out here just a bit. So that is it. Those are the techniques for the Soft Pastel specialty class. Just a reminder, I do have 2 kits available. If this is something that you would like to get from me, you'll have supplies for the 4 beautiful projects that were created. You'll also get all of the embellishments. So ribbon and beautiful little rhinestones, butterflies, so fun. This has been a great class. Everybody really enjoyed all of the techniques. I'm just looking for the last card that we did first. There it is. So these were our beautiful cards in the Soft Pastel specialty class. I'll put the link below for you on how to get those last 2 Soft Pastel kits if you'd like. If you have any questions, if you were part of the class, if you have any questions about any of these techniques, just go ahead and message me and I will help you out. So thank you for stopping in and checking out this wonderful specialty class. I hope you enjoyed these projects. Leave a comment below. Let me know which card you liked best. And again, I have 2 kits available. Check out the 20% off sale. I have a link below there as well, you guys, because March there's a 20% off sale of the mini stamp and cut and emboss machine and some of the die sets that coordinate and can fit through that machine. So thanks again, and until next time, happy stampin'.